Got fired from my internship, so I sued the company and got money. I, 22 male, sued my internship company because they fired me for no reason. It was a start-up company. Things were fishy from the beginning. It was my first internship, so I was still naive. I slowly realized that all the employees, for lol, were all interns. The person who taught meth job was a fired intern too. Fast forward to a month after, and I get this email from the manager, saying that he feels that I am not committed to his company. No warnings beforehand whatsoever. He said that at the office, I appear slow and uninterested. Little did he know that I carried the whole customer support emails by myself and actually took the time to reply to each one without ignoring it. Anyway, after I saw the email, I replied and told him that this is not the case and he should give me another chance. He replied and said no. I replied again and low-key begged him because he was basically crewing my study as an internship is a mandatory part of it. He didn't reply and ignored me. I asked to have a meeting with him and hindered me. So here is when Petty me took over. I wrote message calling him a ickhead in professional words. I sent that message in the group chat with the other interns and luckily, a new intern had just joined the company and she saw it. Then he finally replied to me and was like, oh, things sometimes don't work out and it happened to me blah blah blah. I didn't feel fulfilled yet, so I looked at the contract and saw that under termination, it said that a 1-month notice should be given before termination. He terminated me without the month notice. So then I consulted a lawyer and we filed a lawsuit against him. I didn't win, but I got a settlement and got some money about it. I caused him nuance while I lived on and enjoyed my life and got a better internship. He probably had to pay his lawyer and I also took time off of his work. I couldn't be happier to see his grumpy face. I sincerely from the bottom of my heart wish that this dude never finds peace.
Streaming service didn't work and wouldn't reimburse me. I signed up for a British streaming service in the summer of 2019 for my husband. I knew he would like the British dramas and he was recovering from radiation, etc., so I paid up front for a year, $98. You had to access this through an Apple box and we tried several times and it would just buffer. I contacted them for help and they advised me to upgrade my Apple box, $250. I asked to cancel. They said yay, after the year was up, they wouldn't continue the service. If I had signed up for monthly service, I could have canceled immediately, so this did annoy me. Early fall, my husband passed away. I took it upon myself as a distraction to comment on Facebook every time I saw their ads. I would read comments and reply that people should only take membership because there could be streaming issues and if so, they wouldn't be reimbursed. I was polite and didn't slander the company, just pointed out what had happened to me. I must admit I probably posted hundreds of replies because it became a vendetta. Come December, I get a DM from them asking what my problem was. I explained again and they had reimbursed me. I checked my card and they had reimbursed the tax, $13. I messaged back and got a big apology and then the rest of my money was reimbursed. They didn't ask me to stop commenting, but I did. Karen lady honks at elderly lady, so I block her path. I was walking down the sidewalk past this Panera, and this elderly lady was getting out of the passenger seat of a car, and this total Karen honked at her. The stupid part is that she didn't even give her 2 seconds. Like, itch, I can't even move that fast. So I stood in front of her car and blocked her path. Obviously, she got annoyed and started honking at me, but I just stood there, unbothered. And then she tried to go around me, so I kept moving in front of her car. It was really funny because there was another car behind her, so she couldn't reverse. I left the scene when she got really angry lol. Bluetooth speaker revenge. One of my neighbor loves to blast loud music and watch soccer every AMN night with his friends. I've had enough and wanted to do something original just to annoy him and give him a good scare. While I was on my phone, I noticed a bunch of devices in the Bluetooth settings. I saw an unsecured Bluetooth speaker, so naturally I waited until they were all asleep, and then I paired my phone with it. I then played a super loud window breaking sound effect, and since there's absolutely no soundproofing here, I could hear it through the wall along with their screams. I had to laugh in a pillow to not get caught. I hope that I'll be able to sleep, because I can't stop thinking about it. It was really entertaining. I ended up on a mural facing my ex's window. I thought this was kind of awesome. A long time ago, I had a relationship that ended poorly. There was a cheating incident involved and not participated in by me, so that's all I'll say about that. There was a huge fight and then the breakup and then a long period of not seeing each other. I'd say about 6. Here and there I'd hang with a mutual friend who always gave me all the drama. She hates you, she thinks you're in the wrong for not seeing her side, and then my personal favorite, she thinks you're ugly. I just rolled with it and moved on with my life. Looking back, I chalked that relationship up to, it happens. Then, my good buddy who is an artist, asked if he could use my face, as well as several other people's faces for a mural he was painting. It was a move with the record label I work for to team up with him, and they got the permits and everything. One day, weeks later, I'm driving through town, having only seen texts of the finished product and actually being very impressed at the finished project through photos. I'm at the corner next to where my ex lived, and lo and behold, I see my ugly mug plastered on the white wall directly facing her window. Anyways, that's my story. Mural only stayed up for a few months, but I take solace in the fact that she got to see my ugly face every day for a good long while.
Flamingos are so last year. Let's decorate for every holiday ever. Town revenge against a neighbor. So if you read my post about flamingos, you might remember that I have a neighbor that everyone dislikes. So this past Christmas he decided to write a very nasty letter directed at everyone that put up Christmas decorations. He was upset that the decorations would ruin his property value. I really don't see how. So here is our new plan. The flamingos are out and enter a community chat. Created a community chat that he didn't join, and our plan is to decorate our entire neighborhood for every holiday. We have the mayor and town board in agreement. We just flooded the neighborhood with Valentine's Day decorations, now it's St. Patrick's Day and so on. I never knew how many holidays there were in the US till we started this. The best part is he has threatened to sue the entire town. See how well that works. Sometimes you don't need to get destructive to get even. Sometimes a little community pride will do the trick. So if you're ever rolling through a very old-looking town and see it decorated heavily for a holiday, you might be in my hometown. My grandma deeded money in her will. So, I don't know the full story, but I do know the gist of it. My grandma raised her kids with love. She practically spoiled them, and she raised her grandkids too. Me and my two sisters. Two of them, my uncle and my dad, became addicts, and the last, my aunt, became estranged. I've got tons of relatives, so I don't know if I've ever met her. If I have, I don't remember her face or name. So let's call her Little Miss JJ. Left without looking back, and constantly asked my grandmother for money. She hardly repaid grandma, which was a big mistake, because, surprise surprise, my grandma was on top of every penny Thatch had. She was the best I've ever seen when it came to handling funds. But, 2 years ago, my grandma was diagnosed with cancer. She worked her butt off her whole life, was the strongest woman on the planet, and nobody got by without paying her their dues. Eventually, my grandma dies. In her will, she gives money to my grandpa, my dad, my uncle, me, and my sisters. Everyone in her family, but when it comes to Jay, she says, "You still owe me $14. I do not know if she actually somehow deeded Jay $14 in a will, or just put it in there as a little slap in the face. All Jay was worried about when grandma died was the money, and she got NONEOF it. I can't be prouder to have a grandma that wouldn't leave this world without the last laugh."
An expensive laugh. My wife and I were together for 4 years, married for 1.5, and after some convincing from her mom, she evicted me from our shared apartment January 28th with no warning. Her name was on the lease and I was subletting from her, paying my half of rent directly to her plus other bills. Yes, it is in writing. We were living in France, and I had nowhere to go, so I ended up taking an emergency flight to the US courtesy of the US Embassy in France. When I got back to the US, I was devastated but ready to sign divorce papers without any arguing or conditions. February 1st, I had a group chat with my ex-wife, her mother and her father, so they could help us transition to our new lives apart, and I was proposing a solution to an unpaid bill. That was going to affect my ex-wife and me fairly equally, but it required my ex-wife to do a little bit of paperwork, literally an email and a signature. She didn't reply, but her mother did. Ha 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 ha. She laughed at me while I was in an incredibly vulnerable state, just trying to respectfully come to a common good for both of us. But after that, I became the embodiment of rage, and it's time for petty revenge. After having a lawyer and a former employer of mine, who happens to be a judge with resources to make a good judgment on French law regarding the situation with my ex-wife, give their insight into the situation, I decided that she can either pay me for all the costs incurred from evicting me in the middle of winter, plane ticket, hotel stay, wages lost, etc., which totals over €15,000, or she can take her chances in court, which would reveal to the judge that she broke the anti-eviction in winter law, potentially causing her to go to prison. The lawyer and my former employer have said I have a pretty open and shut case. My ex-wife's mother literally had a €15,000+ laugh. Moral of the story: if you are ever getting divorced or are in a situation where tensions are high and potential costs are large, don't laugh at the opposite party, especially when they are cooperative and being respectful.